Welcome back to Big Dumb Football. It's been a while. This isn't my garage because it's hot outside and I don't want to stand out there and you don't want to see me sweaty. I am Spencer Hall. Joining me today is Matt Brown. Matt Brown of the Extra Points newsletter, which you should absolutely subscribe to because how else are you going to know all of the important information about college football video games? That is correct. We have one on the way. So I'm just going to ask the basics here because I know you have so many questions about this game. College football usually starts at the late end of August, maybe early September. We get it in July thanks to the bounty of a video game that has been over a decade in the making. Matt Brown, first of all, title of game formally, not NCAA football anymore.
That's right. It's EA Sports College Football 25. The NCAA is not involved in licensing this product, and the folks at EA are treating this as new IP, a chance to make a new first impression from the series that we all loved over the last several decades.
Yes. Release date.
July 19th for the general public. If you want to buy the Super Deluxe version and get it a couple of days early, you can. But for everybody else, you can download it July 19th.
Okay. That is amazing news for those of us who, I don't know if you can see behind me, there's literally an old Xbox. I keep it just to play NCAA 2014 on. So obviously, like, we're all very excited about this. There was the danger of this game being just a reskin of Madden, right? Just take Madden, slap on some new jerseys, and that's what we've got. That is very much not what we have here, right?
That's right. And I can say that because I both played the game and I played the new Madden, and I played them one day after another, and I can tell you they play very differently. If all EA wanted to do was just, take all the Madden code, Control C, add Kennesaw State.exe or whatever, and then make the game, we would have had this game last year. The reason that the title was originally delayed in the first place, it was originally supposed to release last summer. It's coming out now because they wanted extra time to rebuild everything from the ground up and treat this, again, as not just an extension of NCAA 14, of the games that we enjoyed on the 360, but a completely new product that takes into effect how much college football has changed over the last decade. Not just the game on the field, how things have evolved schematically, how the rules have changed, but also how recruiting has changed, roster management, everything. All of that you'll see in the game, and that takes time. Time that's more than just replacing Lambeau Field with whatever Wisconsin plays in.
So you, as a part of your newsletter, you get people asking you questions all day. This was you made your bed, by the way. You have to lay in it. Okay. They paid for subscriptions, but you also have to answer every single little inane question that comes your way. So we're going to try to stick to the big things and ask. No one ever asks you what you think about the actual game. So we're going to do that. Yeah. Since you've played it, what's the thing you were most excited about doing in the new game?
I mean, I'm a normie when I play these kind of things, right? I feel like my typical Dynasty mode experience, and that's what I'm going to primarily play here, is similar to a lot of the, I think similar to you, similar to a lot of our respective readers. I'm going to go take Akron or Kent State or Kennesaw, and by hook or by crook, I'm going to find a way to make them undefeated. I'm going to get them into a national championship game. I'm going to find a way to start recruiting 5-star players. I do know because that this year that's going to be much harder to do than it was in years before, where you win 10 games that first year, suddenly you're getting a couple of 4 stars pretty quickly. That's not going to be the case this year, but I'm sure that's going to be the very first thing that I try to do. Let's go take all of these tiny teams that, I grew up in Ohio and in my backyard that are typical 3-9 Tuesday night flotsam and jetsam, and we're going to find a way to get them in the Sugar Bowl.
Who's your pick? What school are you going to do this with? My answer is always Middle Tennessee State. Always. I don't know what it is. I just think that champions live in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, or they live in Nashville and they commute.
Yes, either way. Yeah, either way.
I'll probably start with Akron. As that stadium fills up, I think it's going to look a little bit nicer than a couple of the other MAC schools. That's been the most, I think, hard up on their luck MAC program over a while. But it's not like the gap between them and Kent is so enormous. I can't finesse that with some good option play calling.
I love it. That's a superb choice. Also, you get a kangaroo as a mascot.
That's right.
Right? You're the only kangaroo. You're the only kangaroo in the building. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I have more fun at the second job, right? And like the two programs I like to get when I'm at that second or third star rating, I like to go to Tulane. It was a little bit more fun. in the older games you're playing in the Superdome, because then over the course of the season that's going to fill up, and then you've got 65,000 screaming Greeny fans. It's a little bit different in the new field now, but you're like, all right, this is I got a great recruiting ground. I'm going to have A+ rating for like campus environment or whatever euphemism that we try to put in here for being in uptown New Orleans, and you could turn that around. Or ECU, a school near and dear to my heart, where I would say with deep love and affection, those fans are mean and crazy. And
Yep.
if you want to go, a place that is as intimidating and has an SEC message board culture at the G5 level, Greenville, North Carolina is the place to go.
Honorable mention here for producer Charlie's pick, which is North Texas, 1-star program. Hey, 4 or 5-star recruiting territory. So the other thing that we have here, you said Tulane. There's so much that has changed. If you pick Tulane, you get an entirely new range of uniforms. You get, a brand new stadium. Tons have happened in the decade that this game, or whatever
Yeah.
version of this you may call it, a lot's happened while it's away, right? What players do you think we missed out on? Because like if I play this game, I still get to play Johnny Manziel. Like Johnny Manziel is in that game, and he is Texas A&M's quarterback. Who do you think we
Yeah.
missed hardest on when you look at? Oh
Oh,
man, he would have been a video game god.
that's a good question. I mean, we have missed on a lot of straight up programs, right? I don't think we've
Yeah.
ever had Charlotte. I
Nope.
don't know. I don't think we've had App State or Coastal Carolina, right? I think the Grayson McCall, in recent memory, right, of
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina during the COVID year would have been an extremely fun video game team, especially with the teal fields and everything that kind of comes with that atmosphere. My mind immediately keeps going to like these kind of G5-ish levels of things
Hmm.
that we've missed. But I mean, Lamar Jackson was like the
Right.
perfect like archetype of a video game player. That would have caused fistfights in dorm rooms across the country playing with Louisville. That whole squad would have been fun as hell. And it's unfortunate we didn't get a chance to play.
If we can just play a little bully ball here for a minute, give
Yeah,
me Ohio State with any number one of the Boses or Chase Young, right?
sure.
Charlie mentions it in the chat, by the way. The Burrow
Yeah.
2019 LSU team. Oh, put it in my veins. 56 points a game, easy, and that's if I'm not running up the score at the end. Which spoiler, I'm gonna run up the score at the end.
No, yeah. And honestly, I think those two are perfect examples of like the perfect kind of team I would have played in this year. One of the different mechanics in this college football game, versus the last several that we've had, is this idea of wear and tear, and the idea of you can't just feed the same guy 80 times because he's going to get hurt if he takes a hit on every single play. So if you happen to have a Bosa and a Chase Young, or if you happen to have 3 or 4 NFL caliber wide receivers, you can do things that maybe you couldn't do if you just had one Calvin Johnson, who
Yeah.
eventually the defense is going to start cheap shotting at the end of the game.
So going back to Dynasty mode,
Yeah,
how is it different? Because my understanding of Dynasty mode in the old game was this: I take a job, I press a couple of buttons, I get a 2-star fullback and turn him into a 4-star Heisman candidate, running the dive only, and I'm winning national titles by game 3. That that is not how it's going to work this time.
I don't think so. As many of you are probably much better at video games than we are. So maybe in your world,
True,
you can. But
true.
for us, I don't think so. We'll kind of zoom out a little bit, right?
All right.
One of the changes I'm personally excited about is a complete redoing of the coach's skill tree system. In the old game, right, you'd have like your coach would level up over the course of the season based on how you do in recruiting or what you're doing during the game, and you
Mhm.
could get these points to spend in recruiting or maybe in some in-game bonuses. But everybody would just put all of their points in recruiting, of course, so then you can flip people and you can get instant commits and you get more scouting resources. And then maybe after you max that out, you go look at the other things.
Mhm.
So this year, one, you get to hire coordinators. And the coordinators have skill trees that are independent of the head coach. And your leveling up system is dramatically expanded. I want to say there's 11 different like archetypes or ways that you can level up your coach, and you can't max out everything. The idea being that not even Nick Saban was perfect at every single component of running a program. Which then
Heresy. Absolute
I
heresy,
know,
Matt
I
Brown.
know.
How dare you say that, Roll Tide?
There were a couple of 9s out of 10, I think for Saint Nick,
Yeah.
right? Maybe not all 10s. But then I think this the first decision you make in Dynasty is, do I want to just maybe make everybody on my staff a proverbial recruiter, and we're just going to roll out the ball, and we have no idea how to run a weight room or no idea how to develop anybody. We're just going to get a bunch of 5 stars. Do we want to go hire coordinators that are good at things that my head coach is not so good at? Or do we want to do a hybrid? Because the bonuses stack, right? If you want to roll out an all bagman 1981 SMU recruiting staff,
Hell yeah.
you get bonuses in talent acquisition that are
Mhm.
going to be beyond just if your head coach is Dabo, right? So I don't know if there's like a perfect way to play that yet. I'm interested to see how other people navigate that world. Then the recruiting system is very different, which I think is a nod to how recruiting in real life is very different, right? The old modes, particularly the last game, you would just get this big stack of points, right? And you would just
Right.
kind of like throw points at a recruit. It's much more I would say nuanced now, right?
Mhm.
You're deciding, okay, am I texting this guy? Am I sending out an assistant to go
Mhm.
call him? Are we scouting him and going to his high school? There's a lot more. They're trying to help you build an actual like sense of relationship or sense of accomplishment with the recruit. And then obviously the transfer portal is a much, much, much bigger factor. So over the course of the week to week over the course of the season, as the coach, you'll see, hey, which of my guys might are at risk for hitting the portal. Like this person says, like, hey, I need to get 45 snaps, a game, or I'm going to leave for more playing time, or I need
Mhm.
to, hit X, Y, or Z. So you have an idea of who might leave, and then you go in there and you decide: do I want to go take some swings and find new starters? Do I need to go replace my current people? But you don't have as much scouting time, which is I think meant to be a little bit more realistic too. You could build
Realistic.
your
Yeah. Very,
program,
very
yeah,
realistic. Yeah.
exactly. So that's kind of the risk that you take. I think the other kind of fun thing that those of us that start with G5 kind of programs are going to have to figure out in the recruiting trail is, do I throw resources and time at a high school recruit that I'm not going to get out of high school,
Mm.
knowing that he's probably going to transfer because the game remembers the investments you make in recruits. And if you finish second or third in the guy in high school, you're going to get a huge bonus when he hits the portal.
So you could, unlike the old game, if you strike out on a guy, he'll remember in the game and you could get him the second time around?
That's exactly right. Or you
Oh,
could
I like that.
potentially I like that too, because
Yeah.
if you're Georgia Southern or Georgia State, you're
Mhm.
basically hard capped prevented from signing four-star guys at a high school
Right.
under outside of a few extenuating circumstances. This is the way you get the best talent. When somebody doesn't make the two deep at Georgia, you get him back. Or you could even decide, maybe I'll hire his coordinator to be my coordinator, and then maybe I get that bonus when they hit the portal. Or if my coordinator leaves to go take the Texas Tech job, what does that mean for my portal risks? Who are my players that are really attached to that guy who might leave and follow him? I think the development of staff management and like really granular recruiting skullduggery is going to be a
Mhm.
new part of this game that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy.
Do you know what building a turn-based recruiting simulator into this game is going to do for people who play games like XCOM, Baldur's Gate, for your more strategy-based games, people who are like big Civ heads, civilization heads? Oh, yeah, this is going to be our good friend Jason Kirk. I can see already we've lost him. A solid month.
No, a solid month. And this is part of the thing that I find so intellectually interesting about this game, right? Because
Mhm.
it reaches meathead internet and
Right.
people that just want to, beef slap and beef and run the ball and everything. But it also reaches spreadsheet internet. The
Yep.
kind of people that are trying to, that mid-max their RPG characters and have extra tabs open. It reaches to that too. There's going to be people that are going to want to play this that are not going to play the actual game, just like it was back in the PS2 era, because they're so focused on roster management. God
Yeah.
bless those people.
You also have Dabo mode where you can just turn off the portal. Just pretend it
You
doesn't
can.
exist. I'm about to save Matt the email. That's a joke and it doesn't exist. Do not email Matt. Do not ask him about this. Okay. That's
Please,
my
please
fault.
do not. But I will very quickly add, because somebody probably will ask about it, and they have before. One of the concessions to fun that the development team did is allow
Hmm.
everybody to take advantage of the portal. So if you want to play Army, in real life, you can't do this. In the game, you can. If you want to play BYU and admit a bunch of guys that are never going to get into BYU or would not be happy at BYU, in the video game, you can. So you don't have, just because there might be Dabo
Hmm.
mode in real life, the Stanford ACT admissions protocol not in the game.
I want to know what surprised you. When you were playing this, you got the chance to play this at EA's
Yeah,
headquarters in Orlando, Florida. And you had to be surprised at some things when you were playing it. What were a couple of those pleasant surprises?
yeah, I would consider this a pleasant surprise. But my first game, I sucked.
Hmm.
And the reason,
Yeah.
and like, yeah, and again, like, not a capital G gamer, so take that for what you will. But the game felt pretty different from 2014. I think there are two big kind of schematic reasons for that, right? The passing system is different. There's a passing meter, right, where um, velocity and angle matter a little bit more, and I think it's meant to penalize people that would do the cheap thing that I like to do sometimes: take the fast guy, sprint out of the pocket, wait for one wide receiver to have a mismatch with the linebacker that
Hmm.
comes up to pass rush, easy 12 yards every single time, because I'm too stupid to make actual reads. If you do that now, if you have Johnny Manziel, you can get away with it. But for other people, there's a bigger inaccuracy bonus. So
Yeah.
it's going to take me some more practice to figure out how do I layer the ball to find the hole in the zone coverage? How do I make sure I'm not just throwing 1,000 miles an hour every time, because
Hmm.
people will drop it.
You can't spam slants in this game anymore, right?
No, in fact, that was like, explicitly mentioned, right? If you
Hmm.
spam slants, either the AI is going to catch up to it,
Hmm.
or you're going to, after three hospital balls, all your receivers are going to the intensive care unit.
Right.
Their health HP will disappear. So that took me a little bit of time, and the option system is different, right? I feel like in the last game, even if you were a big dumb football casual like me, the game kind of held your hand a little bit. Like, here is the guy you need to
It
read,
gave you a
and
read
here,
key. It literally said, "Watch for this guy."
watch for this guy. And I think you described it earlier as almost a quick time event, right? Like, it
Hmm.
wasn't difficult to figure that out. The nice thing is now you have there's different buttons you can push to have different kinds of pitches, right? You can do a short pitch or a long pitch depending on like where your quarterback is on the field,
Hmm.
or who's trailing it. But also, while you can kind of pull up if you're an experienced guy to get an idea of who to read before the snap, it's not going to telegraph that throughout the play. So it took me a little bit of time, even if I intellectually knew the right read, to figure out how
Hmm.
to get my players to do the right thing. But it feels very satisfying when you pull it off. So I think I would set the expectation for people. If you play this game exactly the way you played 14, because you've been playing 14 for the last 9 years, you will get rocked your first three quarters. But I don't think the new mechanics it's not rocket surgery to figure it out. It's just going to feel a little bit different, and hopefully a little bit more intuitive the more time you get.
All right. Lightning round. I'm going to start asking you very quick questions here for things that either are in or are
Okay.
not in the game. I'm going to ask the most important question of all. One is LSU's notorious neck in the game as a song.
Not only is Neck in the game,
Hmm.
but I have literally seen the sheet music that was used for the specific arrangement, and
Yes.
I took a picture of it. The one thing I will say, I can't actually confirm if it plays at LSU games, because a surprising number of
A lot of
non-LSU
bands play
schools,
neck. Yeah.
a lot of, yeah, like I think Kennesaw State plays Neck, Illinois plays Neck, some even bigger PWI kind of institutions do. So,
Hmm.
but that I think it was the Blue Devils from DCI that actually recorded and performed Neck, and
Hmm.
that is in the game.
All right. Most important question done. This is all fun from here on out. Stadiums, impressively rendered, lovingly rendered. When you the ones that you saw in your brief
Yeah.
tenure.
I would say yes. I mean, the internet said like, "Oh my gosh, you made a mistake with this Texas State Stadium, and maybe
Hmm.
there's going to be one or two other changes." But I thought the attention to detail at the stadium and the pre-game and in-game presentation levels substantially surpassed that from 2014, which is, in part, we have a lot more complicated hardware. One of the things, to kind of set the scale for what level of detail we're talking about, um, EA rendered every individual seat in all of these stadiums. And so they know exactly where the opposing band
Hmm.
sits. They know exactly where the visiting parent section and the students are, and where the cheerleaders are standing and the mascot. And that is true to life, whether it's at a big school or a small school.
Playbooks differentiated enough so that they have individual character from what you've seen. Again, are they unique enough to say, yeah, everyone really does have their own playbook?
Everyone really does have their own playbook. There's a couple of generic ones. The build that I played did not have every single play in it yet. I think that the last three things that the developers are trying to squeeze in,
Hmm.
all of the plays, all of the alternate uniforms, and all of the actual players, right? Like the builds that we had didn't have every single one of those. But Oregon and Kennesaw State and Kansas State and Ohio State, they run
Hmm.
similar, concepts. They have similar pistol formations sometimes. They're going to look very different. And that if somebody rolls out something crazy in week 4, there is a mechanism to have that in EA 2 weeks later. If there's, some iconic swinging gate that happens in week
Mm.
3, we can see that in the game later on. People are watching for that.
That's sick.
It's pretty cool.
I also want to know, can I play actual red-blooded American football and run the dang ball? Can I run the dang ball? Is it actually a mode of play? Can I be a run-heavy team instead of just spamming slants and hitting four verts?
Honestly, of the 3 hours that I played, I found that was more efficient for me, and some of that is because I needed a little bit of time to get used to the passing mechanic. But one of the other, I think, big differences that people are going to notice in this year is that the wide talent gap for specific matchups
Mhm.
is really apparent. So if you're playing a game where you've got a gigantic physical advantage at the line of scrimmage, if you're playing LSU versus New Mexico State, you will be able to run the ball because your
Mhm.
left tackle is going to be able to just in run blocking push somebody 6 yards downfield like every single time.
Yeah.
It's forgivable that way. The tackling physics are a little bit different. So if you're a big dude and people are taking inefficient pursuit angles at you, they're either going to bounce or they're going to be carried. So I would definitely say if you want to run 2017 Wisconsin offense, you
Mhm.
definitely can do that in this game. You bet.
Ah, at last. Actual red-blooded American football in a video game. What a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. One last question,
Yeah.
and I already know the answer to this one, so I'm just going to lead everybody. I'm gonna clear it out. Not even really a question, just a statement since I already know because follow Matt, subscribe to Extra Points, do all the things that you need to do in order to know as much about this game before it comes out next month. There's no mascot mode. That's correct. No mascot mode.
Unfortunately, no,
Yep.
no mascot mode this year. The mascots themselves are in the game, right? If you want to
Mhm. Yep.
see the Oregon Duck riding a motorcycle, like that's there, but you can't make them play football yet.
Yes. And finally, one last
Yeah.
question. Kirk Herbstreit is in the game, correct? So he's still going to scold me for running up the score in the fourth quarter like a classless jerk. Me,
Then I
classless
think,
jerk.
yeah, you specifically, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I kind of like is that there's multiple broadcast crews. So
Mhm.
if you're playing the proverbial 11 o'clock Big Ten Purdue Illinois game, you won't have Herb Street doing that. But if it's the game of the week, you will. And I mean they recorded just an obscene amount of audio. I don't know if his face is in the game.
Mhm.
He wasn't when I played, but I was only doing first halves. But boy howdy, there's a lot of Herb Street commentary that will yell at you for not taking a knee or for continuing to throw out of the shotgun when you're up by 45
I
points.
can't wait to hear how sad and disappointed you are in me, Kirk, because that's going to happen July 19th
Yep.
when College Football 25 drops. That concludes my questions. If you have any other questions, pay the man, subscribe to Extra Points, and he'll have to answer them for you. Otherwise, don't. I don't want to hear it, and he doesn't either. Okay, give him money; he'll answer your questions. Thank you for joining us, Matt, and we are going to play online, right? We're going to play online.
We're definitely going to play online. I'm going to get put into a garbage can, but I'll
Absolutely.
tell you, no, no. One of the things that I'm actually going to try to do
Mhm.
over the next couple of weeks is try to play some people on camera that maybe are not part of our extended universe.
Yeah.
I'll drive to Indianapolis and get Charlie Baker on the sticks, and we'll play that way, right? If we got
Trash
to go
him.
get well,
Trash him.
on camera in front of God and the whole internet, like I'm
Yeah.
throwing the gauntlet down. We're gonna find some coaches. We're gonna find some people that maybe haven't played this game in 20 years. For August, I think that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing. Like looking my family dead in the eye and saying, "No, I need to play video games till 2 o'clock in the morning. It's for work. This is how I buy you girls Lunchables. Daddy needs to keep running the ball, and
Dad.
that's what we're going to be doing."
Sorry, kids. Daddy needs to run the ball.